Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Chaotic Entertainment. I'm host, Dan, and, folks, I might need some help. I've been trapped in a burnt-out office building for about 3 weeks now. The only time I leave is when I start craving more of that yummy gray water from the nearby road. My only companions are the rats that keep chewing their way into the air vents. My only food source? Those same rats cooked over an open flame in an enclosed space. My neighbors are misshapen, mutated predators who don't understand walls or why I need them. On a completely unrelated note, today's video is about an early access game called ZED. ZED is a post-apocalyptic survival game that draws heavy inspiration from other popular games in the genre, namely Project Zomboid, Scavenger, and Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead. In this game, you play as a survivor who is stranded after crashing your helicopter into roof-level trees. Why? I don't know, but that's not important. Let's start with a relatively brief gameplay summary. ZED is a game about exploration, combat, and above all else, survival. But before you can experience the infection zone, you need to make a character. Much like in Zomboid and Cataclysm, you have several traits you can choose from. Your character can be attractive, energetic, and exceptionally violent. In other words, this game lets you roleplay a meth addiction with none of the downsides. You start with 5 points, and if you want more, you can take negative traits. And these are some of the greatest negative traits I've ever seen in a video game. Where other games have options like overweight or hard of hearing, ZED takes it to the next level. If you've ever wanted to roleplay as an autistic NEET covered in Cheeto dust, this game is for you. And of course, your character needs a world to starve in. ZED lets you customize and adjust the world as you see fit. It's not the OCD-inducing level of options that Project Zomboid has, but it lets you decide on the things that matter. If you're looking for a decent challenge, the default settings are where it's at. If you're an absolute psychopath, feel free to set the map size to large and LARP as an undead rights activist. That setting's got a pretty unique ending. Instead of leaving the infection zone and returning to society, you become an involuntary organ donor. Traversing the map can be a tedious experience, which is why you'll want to get a car up and running as quickly as possible. Their gas mileage sucks, they steer like shit, and their brake lines have been replaced with yellow sticky notes. But they got storage for days, and they let you get around quickly. And each car comes with a random chance of throwing a party when you try to get into them. The gameplay itself is relatively straightforward. Your character needs to eat, sleep, and avoid sharing their bodily fluids with the infected. You have a wide variety of weapons to help you with this that all have different traits. Air rifles are my personal favorite. Having to mash my keyboard in a panicked frenzy to jerk my gun off gets the blood flowing like nothing else. Mashing my keyboard so I can dome a zombie is the closest I've come to feeling something in years. Don't judge me. Speaking of zombies, the enemies in this game are the product of severe fungal infections. Inhaling fields of spores can cause mutations that range from zombification to becoming one with nature to peak male performance. The dead in this game come in all shapes, sizes, and flavor. Now, I know you're wondering, Dan, what the fuck does that mean? Listen, the enemy has evolved uncontrollably. Mutation and gene splicing have delivered the end of humanity as we know it. So naturally, the only solution is to kill and eat as many infected humans as possible. That's how you level up in this game, by harvesting corpses and grinding their organs into sports drinks that boost your power.
Introduce you to the
Zombie Milkshake Blender.
Selective gene editing is humanity's best hope, especially when performed in an abandoned gas station. This allows you to make your character stronger, more perceptive, and more able to think gooder. And to make these bottles of cursed Gatorade, you'll need to do some crafting. Crafting in ZED is a lot like smoking crack rocks. It starts as a small, neat hobby, and eventually explodes into a mindless obsession. To build the best equipment, you have to start by making the worst. What's that? You want a steel pickaxe? Adorable. Here's a shoelace, some pebbles, and a random stick I found.
Create an adventure with that.
Crafting in ZED is an allegory for the hierarchy of prison bitches. You have to start at the bottom and work your way up. That means you'll begin by gathering rocks. A lot of them. Why? Because a lot of crafting revolves around rocks. And you will learn to love rock. You need wood from a tree? You hit it with rock. You need combustive materials from a sulfur vein? You hit it with rock. And when your rock breaks, you will use a different rock to get more rock. Stone tools are mandatory components for building certain crafting stations. Not tools, components. Even the workstations love rock. If you ever want to crawl out of the Dark Age shithole that you crash landed in, you will love and accept the power of rocks. Crafting is an absolutely essential part of your long-term survival in this game, especially ammo crafting in the more dangerous areas. And the longer you live, the more you begin to realize it. Allow me to introduce you to the ZED Zone casing cycle. On the top, you'll see noob players panic gathering any bullet casings they come across. They will hoard and carry these until their knees inevitably burst and rupture like a diseased testicle. Down here, you have slightly seasoned players who leave mountains of spent casings wherever they go. Why? Because their inventory looked like this at some point, and the PTSD still hasn't let go of them. Every time they try to find a single battery in the middle of this absolute fever dream of a backpack, the cold sweats and the shakes come back. Then, at the end of this cycle, we have the veteran player, a person so ravaged with trauma and madness that the idea of dropping his casings is nothing short of blasphemy. To abandon your spent ammo is an act of sacrilege so dire, they would shit in your shower head if you even suggested it. The reason for this cycle is quite simple. When you've been playing for a while, you'll find ammo everywhere. Gun stores are filled with it. Supermarkets stock it next to the baby formula. Ammo is like intestinal worms at an ass-eating contest. There's enough for everyone. However, it doesn't respawn. There are enemies in this game you do not want to get into melee with. Some of them can stun and stagger you, while others are like Russian nesting dolls. Only, instead of progressively smaller, creepier dolls, they open into several animated limbs. If you've never known the horrors of fighting a human pyramid, don't worry, we'll be fixing that very soon. If you want to survive in this world, you need to learn how to make bullets. You'll also need to learn how to repair and modify your weapons. It's a dangerous world out there, and you don't want to be caught with a rock hammer and an empty shotgun. Which brings us to our next topic, combat. Fighting in this game is simple and extremely satisfying. You can run and gun from the hip without losing any mobility, or you can zoom in for perfect headshots. Melee weapons can let you save ammo and also set you up for quick execution takedowns. Your character can throw grenades, dodge roll, and even use their old BlackBerry to enable VATS. Weapons can be modified with barrel attachments and damage type modifiers that let you pick a build that works best for you. And using them to kill enemies isn't always a straightforward endeavor. Headshots are usually pretty good at dropping zombies, unless their head is a literal household appliance. Some mutants have helmets or protective headgear on. Others explode on death. My favorite moment in this game was when I was looting a building only for an explosive mutant to open the window and dive in after me. Imagine your heart stopping because you heard a window opening. ZED Zone, it's a relaxing game for easily excitable people. And if all of that isn't enough, the world itself wants you dead. Everything is out to get you, and nobody likes you. Realism. We love to see that in our video games. There is no safety. Society has fallen. The completely normal and harmless act of downloading Judy Hopps R34 parodies at your local library now carries a risk of dismemberment. Bears are everywhere and are hell-bent on finishing off humanity. Taking the wrong perk can make peaceful deer into wandering predators. And while you're avoiding the gentle wildlife, you'll also need to keep an eye on your surroundings. Hazards are everywhere, and you might not notice them until it's too late. Inhaling spore clusters is a fast way to make your health bar tank. A gas mask can help keep you from experiencing forced evolution like the infected around you. Prancing in radioactive materials, though, yeah, that's still gonna be bad for your pituitary gland. It's not all terrible, though. These bright, shiny plant spores are extremely irradiated and completely safe to hold as a flashlight. Murky water filled with every microorganism known to man is perfectly safe to drink if you own a stove. And please, feel free to eat whatever random berries you find on the ground. They're probably safe. This game does have an objective: get to the boat on your map and get the hell out of the infection zone. So, if you're new like me, you might be tempted to craft a few things, raid a gun shop, then make a beeline for the coast. You may consider just waiting until sunrise, then running as fast as you can. And then, as it gets dark, you start to realize something. you're exhausted, and there's literally nowhere safe to sleep. You can't stop for food. Everywhere this close to the objective is crammed with zombies, radiations, zombies with radiation, fucking fences that your character is too brain dead to climb. So, there you are, blindly sprinting through the night, running through radiation with a broken flashlight. Ignoring your lungs collapsing, refusing to acknowledge the zombies around you, you race to safety. And, against all odds, you make it to your salvation and discover that, oh, wait, that was the easy part. And now, you're stuck there with a boat you need to fix, on a beach that needs a headphones warning. Now the game begins. This game is truly amazing. ZED Zone gets a positive review from me, as well as my highest recommendations. A huge thank you to my backers on Patreon for supporting me, and to Frost Summer for helping edit this content. You're all amazing, and if you enjoyed this video, remember to drop a like and consider sharing it if you want to see this channel grow. More content on the way, so stay tuned. Thank you all again, and I'll see you all next time.